Hello, ActsKids teachers. This week we will continue on our theme of creation, but for the kids and the pre-K curriculum, it will be different. For the kids, which is first grade and up, they will focus on God creating people, and pre-K and kinder will focus on God creating animals. And the level of biblical learning for kids is that God created people in His image. For pre-K kinder, it is that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. But this session's specific point for kids is that God has a plan for you and wants a relationship with you. So it doesn't get to the sin part in Genesis chapter 3, but it shows that God makes us, God gives us a law, because it matters how we live for God and how we relate to Him. And He also creates two different sexes because we are to relate to one another in marriage. And Lifeway, the teacher's devotional, shows that God created people to work, to obey, and for relationships. For pre-K kinder, we will focus on God creating animals. And the students have already learned Psalms 104:24, which is a memory verse from the Gospel Project, and we have a song to go along with it, and I will share that with you. But for the kids curriculum, Genesis chapter 2, it begins with no life. There are no plants, no water, no man to work the ground. And then God brings water, man, and plants. And one thing that is unique about man is that he is created not by speech, which everything else is spoken into existence, but he is made by the dust from the ground and breath from God, a breath of life. So he is created by the most insignificant thing of the world, which is dust, and the breath of God, which is perhaps one of the most significant things. This makes us special, but also shows that we are just dust apart from God. So this is one way that we relate with God. We depend on Him for life. The garden is planted by God, and the man is given the responsibility of tending it. And there were two unique trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And it shares here that the Garden of Eden was the source of water and life. And in this verse, chapter 12, it mentions gold and onyx. And this points and reminds us of the tabernacle and the high priest. The high priest would wear gold and onyx on his shoulders. And the tabernacle was a picture of the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was like the Holy of Holies, while the tabernacle showed those boundaries, the level of holiness, of how we can come close to God, while it was ultimately separated through our sin. And so just like the tabernacle and the priest, God gives them the law to not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So the law shows that there is a proper relationship to be had. And that proper relationship stands on the fact of whether we trust in His words or not. And that's the proper relationship we have with God. And that's how God came into this world as the Word of God who put on flesh. And today we have the Bible, which is the Word of God. Will we trust in His words, or will we fall to temptation by believing in lies? And then God creates helpers suitable for Him. First, He provides all these animals for man to name, but they were not suitable helpers. So God makes a helper that is corresponding to Him. God creates him out of the side of the man, and Adam says, "At last, this is my bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh." A commentary by Matthew Henry, he says, "The woman was made of a rib out of the side of Adam, not made out of his head to rule over him, nor out of his feet to be trampled upon by him, but out of his side to be equal with him, under his arm to be protected, and near his heart to be beloved. As men and women, we stand equal side by side. That is how we relate to one another. But once we become one through marriage, there is a new type of relationship. There is definitely the headship and the helper relationship, but also there is the relationship of becoming one flesh. Through Adam being split, his side is being split, they become two separate people. Through marriage, they become joined together once again. So there is this relationship that is going through here. Relationship that gives us life through dependence on him. Relationship that gives us responsibility and the law to have faith and trust in his words. Relationship with one another between genders, and magnified through marriage, that God has a plan for us and wants a relationship for us. For the pre-K and kinder curriculum, it's pretty straightforward. It shows that the fish and birds were created and the land animals were created after, and God provided everything they needed: the sky for the birds, the sea for the fish, and the land for the land animals. I have given every plant for food, so that they have sustenance. There is nothing that they are lacking. And so God shows his creativity and providence and intentional design in everything. So this is the lesson. Hope to see you this Sunday at 9:30.